You might have heard the term lead nurturing sequence, and you might be thinking, oh, I've heard about it, but how can I implement such a sequence in my business? In this video, I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process of how to do it. I'm going to give you some advice on some different systems you can use. I'm going to walk you through the journey to how you can turn someone that's potentially an audience that you want to engage with through to becoming a prospect and then through to becoming a customer. Lead nurturing is a really powerful way in which you can keep people engaged that are interested in what you have to say and try and give them more content, more materials over a period of time so that they start to warm up and become a customer with you. And why is this really important? There was a study done a number of years ago by Google, and they showed that you need 7 hours of content across 11 interactions across 4 different media for someone to trust you to want to do business with you. Now, that's why a lot of people want to do face-to-face engagements, because you can build up a lot of that 7 hours of time. But if you think about the 7 hours of time across 11 interactions across 4 different media, it's really difficult to do that face-to-face or as a human being. But what we can do is we can use technology and tools to help us with that journey, to help us build hours and hours of engagement, to help us build interactions and to be in a position where they can see it across multiple methods that can enable someone to think, yeah, I like that person, I'm going to trust them. And the way I'm going to describe it to you, the best way I can describe it to you is how I created it for my business, but I can then share you some ideas. I'm also going to give you a bonus template. If you look down, there's a bonus template of how you can set up a simple lead nurturing sequence for your business as well. But before we get into actually creating the sequence, I want to give you a few pointers just to remember before you start this journey that is really, really important. So point number 1 is this: map it out. There are lots of tools and technologies that you can use, and I'm going to give you a recommendation for some platforms such as Zoho, ActiveCampaign or HubSpot that will enable you to create a sequence. And the way that sequence is going to look, it's going to look like something happens here, and it's a flow chart that basically goes through a process all the way through to when someone actually buys something. And that journey from here to here, we can automate that flow process and make sure that we know what's going to happen at different points in time. And we can even get really clever and says if someone does something here, we move them into a different flow chart that basically means that something different happens at a different point in time. We had a customer once in my business who sold tickets for an event, and what they did, they were really clever in making sure their first communication went out, talked about the event itself, and then indicated to people the different days that the performance would take place. And what they were able to then do is identify whoever clicked on the individual days. So for example, if this was related to Monday, they went into a sequence for Monday. And those people that clicked on a sequence for Tuesday went into a second sequence that reflected things around the Tuesday. Why was that important? Because it enabled them within these campaigns to then give offers and activities which encourage the purchase process. And what we want to be able to do with lead nurturing is move someone from the top of the funnel through to becoming a customer and paying things from us. So one of the key things we need to do is to map that out. If you start to do that in systems like ActiveCampaign or like Zoho or like HubSpot without thinking what's going to happen where, you're going to get lost. So my first advice is to make sure you get a bit of paper, a bit of A3 paper, and start to map out what that journey might look like. Maybe use this video alongside that paper and start to work out what you want to achieve. And that leads me on to my second point itself. What is it you want to achieve? What are the goals that you have? If you knew, for example, in this case here, the organization wanted to sell tickets, they were able to start to put different processes in place and flows in place because they knew that they could sell tickets here and tickets here, but the end goal was to get the user to do the thing that was right for them, to buy tickets on the right day. But in some cases, the goal might be to go further down to into our funnel. In my case, for example, what I'm looking to do is to get users to consume more and more of my content and then to book in a meeting with me. So I've got to know what the key goals I have of every communication at every stage. And when we're communicating here, each communication or each action should have a clear goal attached to it and what we want the person to achieve. Point number 3 when it comes to lead nurturing sequences is content. One of the things that's really key is we've got to be able to know what content we're going to share in order to continue to add that value over a period of time. I'm quite lucky. I have built over the last number of years over 200 podcasts. I've got over 600 videos. I've got over 50 resources. I've got over nearly 800 blogs that I can shape and share people towards. And what it's going to do is continue to value and give them information over a period of time to help them hopefully want to come and engage with me. But the reality is, if you haven't got content, then you're going to be in a position where you're going to struggle to link people to things that build value for you and your business. So think about the content you have. How many bits of resources right now could someone use and see based upon your company? And the fourth point around this, which is really key, is message. What type of message do you want to use? How do you want that message to look? Is the tone quite friendly or is it professional? What are the materials and words you're going to use in each point in time to get someone to come through the journey with you? One of the things that I always encourage people to do is to think about how the message you want to portray for your business is. For me and my business, the way I want people to feel about engaging with us, I link to an event and I link it to a summer barbecue. If you imagine a summer barbecue, people having a drink and enjoying themselves, that's how I want them to feel about my brand. So the message and the tone and the way we communicate reflects that. Other people might want it to be a cocktail party, in which case it's more, higher brow. But for me, I want the vibe to be really engaging and friendly. So therefore the messages and the tone and the content I use needs to reflect that as well. So the key thing around making sure you have a right message is to understand your audience. And that leads on to point number 5, which is, what is your ideal customer profile? Who are the people you're trying to engage with? Who is this audience? What are the struggles that they're actually looking at having, and how can you help them with that? For me, I've got different profiles of people that work for me, but my real passion is helping business owners that are small business owners grow and scale their businesses. I want to help them build companies that have incredible value that can operate without them. So what I do is I know the challenges of my audience, and I can then create content and materials to support that. But what is the ideal customer profile? What is the method that you're going to use? What is the ideal customer look like for you? What are the challenges and frustrations they've got, so that you can then start to share content and materials with them? And then the final point to consider before we get into a bit of mapping is media or channels. What are the channels and media that you're going to use to engage with the audience? And the whole idea of having a lead nurture sequence is that we want this to operate a little bit while we're sleeping. So in an ideal world, the ideal channels for this might be email, might be social media, but it also may be things such as, for example, letter, if we've interfaced to a mailing company. Invariably, we can use at different points in time real things like calling, but that then tends to not just be a lead nurture sequence, but what I would call an automated sequence. And that's something we'll cover up in a different video. But you've also got other channels that are coming into play now. For example, WhatsApp is proving very popular in terms of engaging with people. Or you can even start to think about using AI agents or chatbots to engage as well. All of these are different automated methods that can be used to nurture the prospect through a process. So now we've covered the key elements of what you need to consider, and now you can start to see how we move the prospect from being in the audience through to becoming a customer. Let's look at how we create one for my business that gives you a sense of how we use lead nurture sequences to turn cold prospects into warm customers in business. Okay, so as I mentioned, for me, we want to really be able to understand the funnel. And when I've talked about in previous articles, and I'll link you to a video, I think there are 3 stages in the funnel. They're what I would call tofu, mofu, and bofu. And you might be thinking, what the hell are these? Is this some sort of vegan dish? No, it's not. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And what I want to be able to use is different materials at different times in order to be able to move someone through that journey. I always talk about things like sales is like dating. And if I asked, for example, someone who I just met at a date, how many times if they wanted to have kids with me, chances are they'd say, go away, it's too much too soon. But once someone's got to know me and built a relationship, then we might be able to talk about whether they want kids or not. So the reality is we've got to have different messages and different content at different stages in the funnel. And if you can understand what you want to do at these stages and put in place the right messages and materials, it's going to help you build the right lead nurture sequence. So how do I put it in place, and what are the messages things that I do? So the first thing for me is step 1 is I have content that's visible in the marketplace. Firstly, I have videos on YouTube, but I also have a podcast which is available for people to download and see, as well as having my social media and website. I've got, as I say, you're watching this video, that's part of my content. And what I'm doing at this stage is trying to build up enough awareness of who I am and what I do. I'm trying to share with you details of how I add value, how I help create support and help for people. But my goal is to ideally to get you to engage with me at some point in time. Because of course I'd love to do business with you, but hey, if it's not to be the case, that's no problem. But what I'm trying to do is to create information at the top of the funnel to engage with you. I don't know who's accessing my videos. I don't know you right now, you're watching this video. I don't know your name and your details, but I'd like to, of course. And what I'm trying to do is if I can capture that information and get you to trust me enough to know that you're worth giving me, I'm worth giving your email details to, I can move you through the process in the funnel, and you can do the same with prospects that engage with you. So in such a case here, I've created lots of content and videos and materials here. And a good example will be, I might put a link in the video. In fact, if you go to the resources section of this video, you'll see a link to a form. And what that will then do is take it through to an individual form on a website, which you can then update, provide some information, and then suddenly you'll then start to move into the next phase of what I call the lead nurture sequence we have in place. Another example, of course, is you can use a quiz. I have, for example, a URL. So if you go to www.ineedasalesplan.com, you'll get access to a page that asks you to take a little quiz, and in return for asking some questions, I'm going to share some information and value from you. And what that's going to do is enable me to obviously share some value and some insights into helping you achieve your sales plan, but more importantly, it's also going to ask you for your lead details so I can then start to engage and build a further relationship with you. At this point here in the process, generally you don't know who people are. These are all different people that are at different stages at the top of the funnel. I don't know who these people are. They are from all over the world. What I'm looking to do is be in a position where I can then start to capture some information from them, find out a bit more about who they are, and make them trust me to want to engage further in my process. That's what I would call the first stage in the lead nurture sequence. So let's say, for example, you were to follow this process and go to www.ineedasalesplan.com and you took the quiz. What would happen then? What does stage 3 look like? Once you've taken the quiz, and the quiz takes, for example, around about a minute to complete, it's going to ask for your email address. And the first stage of a lead sequence is I'm going to ask for your email address, or you may be able to answer for example, a mobile/contact number. Now, for me at that stage here, that's what I call the first stage of moving from the top of the funnel and maybe even engage with other videos or other resources to the moment where potentially you might become a prospect in my world. And again, by the way, I'm saying this to you not because I want you to become a prospect or that you are a prospect, but it's just how I set up a lead nurture sequence. I want to show you to do the same in your business. So once we've collected some email addresses and data, what we're able then to do is to start off a journey that enables us to automate some messages and materials to be sent over a period of time. So for example, if you are to complete that test, what will happen is you'll get a series of different emails over a period of different days, all with the intention of sharing value and insights with you. I'm trying to share insights on more materials that can help. I'm trying to share some materials and podcasts that I've done where you can help achieve better sales results. I'm going to share videos where I've been able to show you how to achieve things more. My ultimate goal is to add value in this part of the process, and this process can take in the period of at least 30 to 60 days. Now, depending on what people do at each individual stage, what I'm trying to do is to get people at this point here to do something to go to what I would call the next phase of the process. I want them to move further down the process, and for me, that involves booking a call. So a simple way of being able to get someone to feel comfortable, they've had lots of value, and then what I might share is I might share a call where I have a 30-minute conversation with someone where we'll talk through with me or my team around some of the sales challenges they've got and what they want to achieve. And at this point, they've actually then gone through the process to where we can then start to be in a position where we understand more about them and what they're doing. Now, the moment someone books a call, guess what? We trigger off a series of other different emails and activities to happen. So ensuring that the person feels that that call is going to be worthy of their time, but also making sure they're prepared for that information. The idea being is we want to be able to showcase them how and what we do, but also where we've added value in the past. So in the messages, the materials that we'll use here, we'll show some examples of case studies. We'll show some examples of other people, examples of our work with guides. We'll show other materials to show that we can be trusted to help them build the sales plan and growth that they want to. But the point being is we've moved them from this stage here through to another stage for booking a call. And the final stage, obviously for us, is once they've booked a call, is then to be in a position where they buy a course, or it may be that they join our database. Now, buying a course may well be what someone does, but it may well be that they just join our database and then we're in a position to continue to market and share value to them over time. I will be 100% honest with you. I don't care if you never buy from me ever, that's fine. My goal is to help you get more sales results. But if you do want more of my team's knowledge or skills or expertise, or you like what you see, then of course I'd love you to be in a position where you purchase some stuff from us and get some value that can add something to your business. So there's an example of how to set up a simple lead nurture sequence. Now I know the journey from here through to here can sometimes take 3 to 4 months. I know that if I don't have a series of emails that are going to be sent over a period of time, that I'm going to lose out on working with someone, or I may not get the chance to build a relationship with someone. There are, of course, points in the process where people are going to leave. Unfortunately, whilst I'd love everyone to love me and what I do, there may be chances where people leave here, or decide here that I'm not right for them. If that's the case, hey, it makes me sad, but it's life. I can't please everyone. But the goal is to be in a position where we take people at the top of the funnel that are maybe searching for challenges and frustrations that they have, through to engaging with more of our content, through to providing our details, through to then nurturing them to become a potential customer. Whether they buy our course or whether they even decide to work one-to-one with me, it doesn't matter. The key thing is we're trying to help people solve their challenges. And that's a simple example of how to set up a lead sequence that works. I've got other materials and things that I use. I have other guides and resources. For example, my forms on my website, I have a resources form called 52 questions, which again, when someone wants to know the best sales questions to ask, they go into another part of the funnel and we then start to give content and value to them with the intention of supporting them and helping them, but also seeing if we can get the chance to work together. So there's a really simple overview of how to set up a simple lead nurture sequence. All of that is done automatically. And at the moment, we generally use email and social as a method of engagement. And our job here is to value stack to give as much of that support and help so we build relationships and build value. Now, of course, you could decide at certain points and stages here to add the option of a call in, or you could decide at certain stages here to add another media like WhatsApp. And many companies are starting to add those type of tools or those type of methods in their process. And if that's what works for you, great, map it out, link to the goals of what you want, look it out to what your prospects and the sales cycle and the journey they'll go through, and it gives you a chance to then see what works. And the final point around this, which is something we're always looking to do, is to measure and tweak. We put this process in place and we know it works for us, but we're not resting on our laurels. We review on a regular basis to see if we need to change this or adjust this in order to get better results. What message do we need to adjust here? Maybe there's a message here that isn't working, or a message here that isn't working that we need to tweak. Part of our job and my team's job is to go through and see what results and responses we get and where we can make amendments. So there's a simple way to set up a lead nurture sequence. It's not complicated. If you plan it out effectively, you know what your goals are, and you've got clear content and messages to launch your ideal customer profile. And if you use the right media and continue to measure it, it can be implemented effectively. But the reality is, accept that people are not just going to go from being someone that gets to see, engage, find you, becoming a customer overnight. You've got to take them on a journey. You've got to nurture them as you would do a flower in the ground. The flower in the ground, when you plant the seed, isn't going to grow straight away. It's going to take time with love and nurturing and watering and sunlight to become the flower that it is. Accept that your prospects are going to be in the same position, and hopefully you'll be able to put something in place that can work for you and your business. And by the way, if you're watching this and you think, hey, I think I'm in this part of the process, that's great. Say hello, reach out to me on social media, tell me what you think in the comment section below. Tell me how you think we can improve and do better, I'd love to know. But the reality is this sequence works, it's a great way to set things up, especially if you've got a basic website in place, but maybe haven't got funnels in place to be able to try and nurture prospects to becoming customers. Hope you found the video useful. If you have, please like, subscribe to the channel, share it with other people. Let's help them build lead nurture sequences that work. But if you've enjoyed it, make sure you look out for the next video, which is coming in a few weeks' time. But thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your insights and your ideas as well. Share them in the comment section below. My privilege to share videos with you. See you soon.